Now, let's take a look here. I already have my EQ, which I've been looking at the entire time. And that shows me the waves that I have here. And then I also have the multimeter, which we've used to look at how wide my track is. This also has a similar thing to that I was looking at the EQ, like with the frequency bands. But what I'm going to do now is have these at the very end. Okay. And one thing that you might see is there's a mastering button here, which was not there before. And you might have noticed this if you were messing around with Logic Pro beforehand. I've tried this out. I think this is like some sort of algorithmic or AI mastering. I haven't tried it in a little while, but I have not. I did not have any success with it at all, especially for like loud EDM music or heavy bass music. So I have continued to do my way, and I like the way that I have more control this way. But you can try it out if you want to. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm not peaking and I'm not. A lot of times when I'm making music, I don't really worry about the levels until this stage of the mixing stage or the mastering stage. So sometimes if I'm going to master, I want to make sure that I'm not peaking beforehand. It looks like negative 0.2 is where I'm at there, which is fine. I just don't want this to be 0 or higher. So the first thing I'm going to do is the match EQ, like I mentioned in my slide. So what I'm going to do is go to EQ, and then go to match EQ, and then stereo. So now this has current, and then reference, and then match. So what it will do is it'll take what we have now, and then it will take our reference, and then it will do, and then it will create our EQ curve. So before I do any of this, I'm going to add a new track. So it doesn't really matter what you add. In the past, I would have to add an audio track, but now I'm going to do a software instrument track, as you'll see. So I'm going to change this to the test oscillator, and I'm going to do stereo. And that is loud, so I'm going to turn that off. And what we want here is pink noise, okay? So this pink noise right here is going to be our reference. So right now this is off, and if you listen to your track, it sounds normal. But if we had this on, it would sound, you'd be hearing this throughout the track. So if I play this, that's obviously terrible. This is not going to be playing at all, ever. But what we are going to do is use this as our reference. Pink noise is described, I believe, mathematically as each octave band has the same amount of energy. So if, let me just show you what the pink noise looks like on the spectrum here. So we can see that it's louder or more volume for the lower frequencies, and then it goes down like this, slanted. And I'm going to turn that off for now. Whereas white noise, which I'm going to turn this down because in my headphones it's quite loud. I'll boost this a little bit. Oh, it didn't even show. Sorry, I didn't switch it to white noise. Let's try that now. It's much harsher. So, I like to use pink noise to reference this. I think I learned this trick from Fox Stevenson, but it's pretty common actually to have your music be similar frequency-wise to pink noise. So, anyway, you can use the test oscillator each time, but as you can tell, the test oscillator is super annoying. So what I did is I just took a MIDI region like this. I'll turn this back to negative 12. And I just took a long enough region that I could use. So, and then I did solo, turned it on, and then bounced it in place. Pink noise. And now you have an audio file that is just pure pink noise, no effects on it. So what I did then, I'm gonna turn this volume down. Is I took this and I added it to my Apple Loops library as pink noise. So then instead of having to open up the test oscillator each time that I need to master, I can just drag this audio file and I can show you in my loops right here. If you see, I have pink noise right here, ready to go. Once it's time to master and use the match EQ, I just drag this pink noise onto a track like it is here, and then I can use this as the match EQ. So let's get into actual match EQ. So because I don't want this pink noise on, I'm gonna mute it, and then I'm gonna go to my drop, which is right here, and then I'm gonna go to match EQ, and then I'm gonna go to learn. So now this is gonna listen to and analyze what I'm playing. So I'm gonna hit play here. And you probably don't even need that much time of listening to it, but I like to pick the drop and then, like I said, kind of shape my other stuff around what I choose for my preferences for the drop. Anyway, now I'm going to go to reference. So I'm going to go to reference, and then I'm going to hit learn for this. So now I'm going to turn my pink noise on. This is the pink noise audio file. You could just use the test oscillator, but because it's so finicky, I like to use the audio file. So now I'm going to solo the pink noise. So nothing else is playing except for the pink noise. And then I hit enter to go back there, and then I'm going to hit play. Once again, you probably didn't need to go as long as I did, but it gets that shape right here that we were saying. Louder with the bass and quieter with the higher frequencies. But because this is a logarithmic graph, that's actually going to be a nice balance for us. Anyway, next thing to do is hit the match button. So now this is the EQ curve that it is telling me that I should do to get my track closer to pink noise. Notice at the very, very low end and the very, very high end, it kind of looks crazy. Like it's saying like 15 dB up or down. I don't like that. And luckily, Logic has an answer for that. If you see this fade extremes button right here, that will really make the extremes a little bit less. Okay, so now I'm gonna listen to this. This is with 100% matched, okay? So I'm gonna mute the pink noise. Now the pink noise is gone forever. And then I'm gonna just play that same part. So this new thing with the pink noise matched EQ is super harsh, but now that I'm listening to it doing A-B, I hear that this almost sounds a little bit muffled in comparison. So the way that I can have the best of both worlds is use this adjust button or the apply button. So this 200%, this is going to be super extreme, and then you can actually go into the negatives, but I found that the sweet spot for me is typically in between 30 and 40%. So I'm just going to play with this and see what it sounds like until I get something that I like. So I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to start at 0. So this is just normal. I'm just turning it on and off to A-B this. gonna see what it sounds like on 40 and then just turn it off and on and see if I like it.
Ooh yeah.
So I think that is a little bit brighter, a little bit clearer. Notice the bass is turned down a little bit. Sometimes when I'm mixing, I get really excited about the bass. And once I put on all the other effects, all of that stuff will be adjusted. I like to be very, very purposeful with how loud my sub bass is. So anyway, that's how to use the match EQ to kind of shape your EQ and get it to a point where you're happy with it. Anyway, the next thing that I'm going to do is just a very, very quick imaging of my sound. So if I go to imaging here and then go to the directional mixer. So this is my default here. I put this on every single master that I do, and I have a split. So you can turn the split off and it'll just change this. So the directional mixer, just kind of, you can point it to one ear or the other ear, one speaker, the other speaker. But what I do is basically break this down into my low frequencies and my not so low frequencies. My low frequencies I have all in the middle. You don't typically see stereo subwoofers, nor would I think that would sound good. So your bass notes are almost always in the middle of your mix, and then your higher pitches can be spread out a little bit. So I found that 1.08 is a good amount. It's a really small amount. It's probably not even that noticeable, but the most important thing is to get your basses all in the middle, and then to have your spread maybe a little bit. You don't even need to do this, but I'll show you what it sounds like. So like I said, very minor difference, but it's a good way to keep your basses and any sort of low frequencies in the middle of your mix.